Good evening. Can everyone please take their seats? We're going to start our meeting. Thank you. All right, I'd like to call to order this County Board meeting of Thursday, November 20th at 6:30 p.m. Please give me a roll call.
Maxwell. McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie.
Here.
Quisenberry. Richards. Rosales.
Present.
Schrader.
Here.
Schwartz. Alex. Berkson. Carter. Cowart. Esri.
Here.
Harper. Hartke. James. Jay. Kibler. Langenheim. Kurtz.
Here. We have a quorum. Thank you. I have a special prayer for tonight. I thought this was very apropos as a new board takes its place in our county, and I'd like just a moment of silence to read this. Please. Today, may we be open to others' ideas and beliefs, respectful of our differences, not threatened by them. May we grow in understanding of our own motives, knowing that people often act out of their own fears. May you be a force for replacing fear with insight, helping us all to be patient and kind as we talk strength. Real strength can always find compromise. Working together, we may find common ground, enabling us to move forward with a shared purpose. May we see what is truly important and unites us, focusing on that. To banish roadblocks of ego and fear today, may we open to other ideas and beliefs. Thank you. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Notice of the meeting, please.
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on November 20th, 2014, at 6:30 p.m. in the Lyle Childs Meeting Room, Brookins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
A motion to accept, please, the Max and Ralph. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the agenda and addenda. I have Stan and Aaron. Thank you. Are there any changes or discussion on the agenda or addenda? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You'll notice date and time of the next regular meetings in December, and we'll now move to the consent agenda. I'd like a motion to accept the consent agenda. Oh, yeah, well, that's first. I thought we'd get the motion first. Okay. Is there anything has to be removed from the consent agenda? Chris?
I want to remove items 1 and 2 from finance from the consent agenda related to the Champaign Enterprise Zone.
Thank you. That's B1 and 2 from the consent agenda will be removed. Patsy, I saw Geraldo, you had your hand up.
No, move to approve.
You're okay? Oh, okay. Patsy?
A question of clarification. We have some new ordinances on our desk concerning the enterprise zone. Do these take precedence over the two that are listed on the consent agenda under finance for the city of Champaign? So
No, the ordinances on your desk are for the city of Urbana, which are not on the consent agenda.
Okay, and the ordinances for the city of Champaign are being pulled, is that
From the consent agenda. Correct.
right? Thank you.
Okay. A motion to, I'm sorry, okay. We have Geraldo first and Aaron second on the consent agenda. I need a roll call vote on this, please.
Maxwell. Yes. McGuire. Yes. Michaels. Yes. Mitchell. Yes. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry. Yes. Richards? Rosales?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Schwartz? Alex? Bergson? Cowart? Esri?
Yes.
Harper? James? Jay? Langenheim? Kurtz?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move to public participation. We just have two at this point. We have our auditor, John Farney. John, JJ?
Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate everyone who ran for and won election last week, or 2 weeks ago, so congratulations. And I wanted to thank the board members who are leaving us tonight. To volunteer your service to your community is a great thing, and you should all be commended for it. You've all put a lot of time and effort into your service to the county, and I know I have appreciated it, and I'm sure many other people here in the community have as well. So thank you very much for stepping up, and it's thanks to your families as well for allowing you the time to serve our community. And Mr. Kurtz, I'd like to thank you for 2 years that I've been the auditor. You've been the chairman, and you've been very good to work with, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, JJ. We appreciate it as well. Charlotte Green?
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Green, and I live at 606 North Willis in Champaign. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I've been working with a group over the past year to develop a proposal to reestablish physical contact visits for parents and their children at the county jail. Contact visits were discontinued at the jail in 2010. Members of our group met with Sheriff Walsh in the summer of 2013, and he encouraged us at that time to bring him a proposal. We are planning to meet with Captain Vogus, the new supervisor of the jails, and Sheriff Walsh in mid-December to present our proposal. Implementation of our proposal would require a large room for visitation, which needs to be included in the master facilities plan. We are asking your support in advocating that the space requirements for the visits be part of the master facilities plan. Why are physical contact visits important? The traditional window phone visits do not meet the needs of children. Young children need hugs, smiles, good eye contact, and time to play with their parents in order to feel secure and loved. For older children, a simple hug can go a long way in showing them that parents care. Older children need extended time to share good news about their accomplishments or talk over confusing issues with their parents. In our proposal, children would meet with their parents or caregivers who are in jail in a family-friendly visitation room. Toys and books would be available so that parents can play with their younger children. Older children and their parents would be provided with comfortable places to sit and converse. The visiting room would be large enough to accommodate many parents and their children at a time. A child visit coordinator provided by a social service agency would facilitate the visits along with trained volunteers. A single guard would be needed to supervise. Since several family units could visit at one time, visits could be much longer than the 20 minutes allotted for window phone visits. Our proposal is based on models in other facilities, including the San Francisco County Jail, the Decatur Correctional Center, and the Cook County Jail. We have been in contact with staff at Decatur Correctional Center and with One Family, which is an agency that facilitates the San Francisco Jail Visiting Program. And they are willing to advise us with our project. I have stressed the importance of physical contact visits in providing for the psychological needs of children. Physical contact visits would benefit our community as well. Many research studies have shown that recidivism rates are reduced when parents maintain contact with family members during incarceration. Please help us advocate for including a space for a family-friendly visitation room in the master facilities plan. That being said, I want to stress that our group is not in favor of spending money on jail expansion. We believe our county money is better spent on community-based services for mental health and substance abuse so that families can stay together. Nevertheless, the master facilities plan is being developed, and a visitation room appropriate for quality child visits should be included. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in public participation at this point? Seeing none, I'm closing public participation and moving to communications. Is there any communications from the floor? Jim?
Just quickly, I wanted to send out condolences and prayers to the Swihart family. Mayor Swihart's son had passed away, and
Yeah.
the visitation was today, so just thinking about them.
When is the visitation?
It was today, actually.
Oh, it was today?
Yeah, it happened very quickly, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other communications? Astrid, microphone, please.
May be out of order, but the visitation that she was talking about is a big item in both the ILPP and the task force. Children cannot bond with a face in the window or a voice on the phone. So it damages the children severely not to be able to touch.
Thank you, Astrid. Patsy?
Yes, I would like to concur with Mr. Farney's comments about working with our colleagues who are leaving the board. It's been fun 2 years. Sometimes we agreed and sometimes we didn't. I'm looking right at Stan James. But but it has been great working together these past 2 years.
Thank you, Patsy. Any other communication? James?
Yeah, I didn't hear if you mentioned this earlier, Al, but I received communication from Mr. Harkey that he was ill and not able to come tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any other communication? All right, let's move on. We have the standing committees, the facilities, highway, and environmental land use, action taken in those committees, and area of responsibility, action taken on November 13th with the committee of the whole. Let's move to finance. What's that? I'm sorry.
County facilities.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that highway. Lorraine?
No,
I-
facilities. No, facilities is first. Stan James.
Oh, there's another one there, too. I missed that one as well. Now, let's start with county facilities. Stan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know you're wanting to get out of here tonight, but we do have business. And let me just tell everybody, first of all, thanks for allowing me to serve at the table with all of you. I know some of you are trying to do the right thing, and the rest of us are. So with that, I need a motion for adoption of resolution number 9015, authorizing a lease agreement between the County of Champaign and the Illinois Attorney General.
Got Lorraine's second. Any discussion on this issue? Patsy?
Really, just an information question. Is there a reason this didn't come to facilities, or am I forgetting what went on at facilities?
Deb?
We did not receive it back from the Attorney General in time for it to get on the facilities agenda.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Highway, Lorraine.
The Highway Committee has one thing to go before the board, and I want to ask Jeff to come up so he can explain it. And that's the adoption of resolution number 9028, appropriating $1,775,000 from the motor fuel tax fund for the construction of County Highway 1 and establishing a Class 2 designated truck route on County Highway 1, section number 12-00432-00RS.
Jeff? I'm sorry. I need a second from Chris. Thank you.
All right. The original resolution was before the Highway Committee to appropriate the $1,775,000 from the motor fuel tax funds. This is an amended resolution where I added in the language designating the Class 2 truck route on County Highway 1. All this information has to go with the agreement that the chair will sign to go to IDOT, and this was just information that was left out of the original resolution that was passed before the Highway Committee.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to amend the resolution number 9028 from the Highway Committee to include the designation of the truck route as shown in the green sheet that we have on our desks tonight.
Can I have a second on that, Diane? A second on that? Any discussion on that change? Lorraine? What's that? I'm sorry. Oh, Coward second. Okay, thank you. Discussion, Patsy?
I have a information question for Jeff. When you were before the board a couple of months ago, you gave us the forewarning of a declining curve on gas tax money, therefore highway fund money. This is a fairly large and pricey project. What is that doing to that budget and that funding? You indicated in 2 to 3 years we could be sort of in a crunch. Is that still your projection?
Yes, I mean, this $1,775,000 is a small portion of the overall project cost for this, which is in the area of about $7 million. There's 4 different funding mechanisms that are going into this. Actually 5, 1 from the state, 2 from the feds, and then this in our federal aid matching fund. So this brings us down, as we've talked about in the past, after this project, we're kind of at a point where we're more of on a year-to-year basis, hand-to-mouth type of funding for motor fuel tax projects.
Just to add on to that, Jeff and I attended an IDOT presentation talking exactly about this subject, on what the future is. A number of the counties already have run out of motor fuel tax dollars, and they have a comprehensive plan that they're going to put before the legislature, hopefully for a capital bill that will include the changes to this tax structure so that the counties can have enough funds to keep the highways in half-decent shape. So thanks, Jeff, for joining me at that presentation. Is there any other discussion on that, on this issue, on that amendment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carry. We'll get back to the main motion. Is there any discussion on the main motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That takes care of that highway. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, that's all for board consideration from the Highway Department.
Thank you, Lorraine. Appreciate that. Nothing on ELOC? Thank you. Let's move on to Chris, back to finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move adoption of resolution number 9022, authorizing payment of claims authorization.
I have a second by Aaron. Any discussion on that resolution? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move adoption of resolution number 9037, authorizing purchases not following the purchasing policy.
So moved. I need a second. Second by Stan. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, Finance moves adoption of resolution number 9038, authorizing the issuance of tax anticipation warrants to the County of Champaign, Illinois, and providing the details of such warrants and related matters, specifically related to the tax anticipation warrants for the nursing home, and I would ask for a roll call.
That's correct, and I need a second on that motion, please. Gary is the second. I need roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Maxwell.
Yes.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales. Schrader. Schwartz. Alex. Bergson. Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. James. Shay. Langenheim. Kurtz.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance moves adoption of ordinance number 950, authorizing the fiscal year 2015 annual tax levy.
My second. Diane, I need a roll call on this as well, please. After discussion. Max? Could you turn on your microphone, please?
Thank you. I intend to vote no against this levy, and not because of the bulk of it, but because of the mental health portion thereof.
I'm curious. Would you explain that a little bit, please, Gary?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
I thought you'd never ask. Actually, this county board has traditionally had a policy of not placing, accepting or grant-driven programs once the grant runs out. In other words, making them part of your budget. In September 30 of 2015, Access Initiative will run out. The current levy includes funds to roll that program over onto the Mental Health Board budget, starting in 2015 in October. The actual program was not brought before the Mental Health Board until last night. So we really didn't have any idea exactly what they're talking about until last night. The Mental Health Board approved it. Although I wasn't there for the total discussion, they did approve it. And I'm questioning the priorities. One, we've been very adamant, and we tell people like rural transportation, once the grant runs out, once the fee base runs out, fee system, if it can't be driven by the grants and the fees, the county board and the Champaign County cannot and will not put those programs over onto the taxpayers of this county. So keeping that in mind, that's the first reason I'm very concerned about rolling this program over into our regular mental health board programs. Another reason is this particular program does not really get to the core of what mental health board is about. It's supposed to be about anyway. The other thing I'm very concerned about is we need to start reallocating this board, mental health board, disability board, needs to start making some hard choices. All these boards are beginning to run out of money or have run out of money. The DSC Center has had to cut programs because their program's been cut back. Community Elements, same way. And our needs at the county level, law enforcement needs somewhere to be able to divert mental health, folks with mental health issues who have become involved in the law enforcement agencies. The law enforcement needs a place to put these people so we don't have to put them in jail. So we need to develop something within this community, within this county, to give law enforcement an alternative to locking these folks up. I realize that you have to be very careful and be very selective on how you do it. But as of right now, we have only a couple choices. One, take them to the hospital. Hospital can't keep them there very long. And if they act up, then they go to the jail. Otherwise, they're back in the community and a threat to themselves as well as their families and the community. So I think there's beginning to be a consensus that we do need to build or to make provisions for a mental health drop-off center. And we have to find the funding for that. That seems to me to be a more important core function of mental health than assuming the Access Initiative program. So that is why I appeared before the Mental Health Board last night and asking them to start redirecting their resources. And I know some people think, well, we can do both. These are not mutually exclusive programs. In a way, they are, because we need the funds elsewhere. They have a higher priority, in my opinion. And right now, as you understand how all this works, the Mental Health Board actually is its own board. They are appointed by our county chair, and we approve those appointments. They create their own budgets, they create their own programs, and set their own priorities. The final analysis is, though, we have to adopt their levies and extend those taxes so that they can be collected and distributed back to them. I don't think we've ever exercised the right to deny that extension of those levies. And I'm not sure what we'd get into if we did, try to. But I think we do have a certain bully pulpit, and I hope I'm using it sort of that way tonight, to say it's time to, all these boards, mental health, disability, this board, we need to start looking at the priorities and the allocation of resources. We cannot do everything. And so, as you know, that's not my preference. I don't like to talk about things like this. I don't even like to talk here. But it's important enough, I believe, that we need to make a choice, and we need to at least pass that information back to the mental health, that we do have other programs that need to be done. And I think they probably could be more beneficial to the community than assuming a grant-driven program that we, in the past, haven't done. Thank you.
Rachel?
I fully agree with what Gary's saying, but I do think we have a matching requirement, so that's actually a question to Deb. Okay, to Peter
Peter.
Tracy, but in general, the point being that when we accept multi-million-dollar grants and they have matching requirements, these matching requirements mean multi-million-dollar cash outflow eventually from the county board, even though we call it in kind, we call it all kind of things. We don't call it cash, but to fund the people who provide the services, we have to put cash into that. So I'm not sure about the legal requirement. Maybe Mr. Tracy can answer. But if it is a matching requirement that was coming with a grant, we can't do anything about it now. So other than not to accept these grants in the future. But I agree with everything you said about having more input into where the money gets funneled to other than project access.
Max, you want to respond to that?
Well, maybe Peter can help us with it. My understanding is we have been matching those grants all along with a certain amount of money. And I believe Jim may have that highlighted over there. And what they're talking about doing is using the money that we have been spending to match those grants. That frees up, in theory, that frees up money that could then allow us to put the Access Initiative program over on our payrolls. But we've been matching them all along, and I don't think we have a continued requirement to match into the future. I believe and Peter can probably help me with this, I believe we have an obligation to create a plan, but I do not believe we have an obligation to create a program.
Peter, could you step up to the microphone, please? I'd like to get a little bit more of an explanation from your point of view on this.
Motion to suspend the rules.
What's that?
Motion to suspend the rules.
You don't need it.
It's not needed.
You don't? Okay.
No. I'm still the chair here. Excuse me.
Good evening. We do have a responsibility to do a sustainability plan that, right, well, a plan means we do something to sustain what we've built. And that's basically what this is not new. Every time I've come before the county board and talked about this project, we've talked about that there is a sustainability component that we're responsible for. And by the way, this was not just brought last night. It was presented in a briefing memo to the board. We had a committee that worked on this sustainability plan that included Dr. Rappaport, Dr. Moore, myself, and Mr. Driscoll. And we presented a memo at the October meeting that laid out pretty much exactly the same things to get comments from folks. And then in addition, we had to talk to our contract monitor, Dr. Constance Williams from the Illinois Department of Human Services. We reviewed, and she was involved in developing the plan. And the sustainability plan does not continue the entire project. It only speaks to about $534,000 of money that we had in the project. And when I presented this to the board, I described it as budget neutral. And what I mean by that is that we are taking money that was used to support the project and essentially rolling it over to continue the project. And there are 6 different components of the sustainability plan that, as I said, have been approved by the state. And that's what we propose to do, and it was a unanimous vote last night.
Jim, then Patsy.
Yes.
I asked Jim
I'm
first,
sorry,
then
Jim.
Patsy.
Sorry, I agree with Gary, and I supported this levy in the past, but I'm quite concerned about this process, and I've said this before with other issues that have been brought to the county board in the last minute. And I kind of remember that resolution you're talking about. It was very vague, didn't have a lot of numbers, and didn't express what this document expresses, including a discussion about planning and policy for the community coalition, which seems to put some responsibility of what is the new part of the agency on controlling what happens with other agencies that work with the mental health board. And that's a big concern with me, and it's a concern, I think, in the community to the other organizations that provide some of these services. But when you're talking about $540,000 that is part of the Access Grant that's 6 years old, I mean, this process has been going on for 6 years, as I understand it, and this planning, or this program, and the sustainable plan should have been brought in the beginning of that time period. And I'm not so sure what we've brought or what we've done with that $6 million, but I'm unwilling to attach that $500,000 when last month or a couple weeks ago we talked about CASA and underprivileged kids, and all these other programs are very important programs that need that funding, including some of the programs that work in this community to support many of the groups that will be impacted by this money. I think we're losing our opportunity to have some impact on this. You're creating an overarching group of people to run this organization when all these groups that work in this community are trying to accomplish what they need to accomplish. So, you know, I hate to hold the levy up. I don't know if it will, if we'll have the votes to do that. But unfortunately, this is the end of December, our last meeting, and you voted on this yesterday.
Peter?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the last comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's like Gary said, that the plan finally was presented in its complete formation yesterday, last night, on what was going to happen with this money. And this is quarter-cent money that is going to be locked into what you expect should be this program as you've designed it here, or presented it here. And now is being brought to us after the levy at the last minute is being voted on, which for my...
Well, actually, the plan is really coming early. We're bringing it to you as quickly as possible. The cooperative agreement doesn't end until September 30th.
You had 6 years, is the point, to do this. You've had 6 years to put this plan together, and you're finally bringing it to us now. I mean, the Access Initiative, as I understand, has been going on for six.
We're in the 6th year, And it's actually been going on for longer than that because we've been funding the foundation projects before we got the grant.
But the point is now you're finally coming up with some kind of plan to continue it and then asking us for the money to spend it at the last minute.
Well, I don't see it
That
as
should've
the
been done
last
earlier.
minute. I guess we got a difference of opinion there, sir.
Patsy?
Yes, I concur with a great deal of what Mr. Maxwell said. And I went before the Mental Health Board yesterday afternoon expressing my concerns about the Access Initiative. We have not had any recent evaluation as to the effectiveness of this program. And when I spent a great deal of time with Mark Aber, learning from him and his research associate as to the effectiveness of the Access Initiative, there were many questions about it, and since we haven't had a recent evaluation, it's hard to know if those questions no longer exist or if they are still in place. So this is one big unknown. The second is that when I went before the Mental Health Board yesterday and expressed my concerns and urged them to really give a hard look at how, both of the boards actually, because they were meeting together, the $7 million plus that we pass through us to them from property tax, that the thing that amazed me when I mentioned the issue that really has been proven to us, the need for facilities and care for individuals who have mental health problems. And it was said at that meeting, is that our responsibility? It's a mental health board. And that rather concerned me that for some reason.
I got to tell you, I didn't hear that. And
Yes,
I'd love
it was-
to, let's listen to the tape and you show me where that is, okay?
Yeah, it was Tom who said it. And I was quite amazed at that. And I encourage the board to step back and look at how their monies are being spent. And then maybe it's time for a little bit of redirection and not push the onus off on others. And there are other communities also who could begin to step up to do some of the funding of the Access Initiative. So I'm going to vote no on this ordinance, not because I'm against the budget, but I want a message sent to the Mental Health Board that there's some of us on the county board that have great concerns about how they view and handle and distribute the monies that they receive, which is a tremendous amount of tax dollars, and that maybe this will bring some attention to our concerns to those two boards.
Astrid, microphone, please.
I think the Access Initiative is a youth program, and I am as much for a drop-off place as Gary or Patsy, but I don't think cutting off youth services is the way to finance it. I think we need to look over the budget and see. And incidentally, it is revenue neutral because they have 9 more months of financing, 10 more months of financing. It's our decision whether or not it's extended when they do come ask us for money. Right now, they're not. It's revenue neutral. But it seems to me that we ought to be more careful where we cut, because I think this is a very valuable program, and I don't think cutting off the programs for minority youth is going to help, is better than the drop-off center. I think we need them both.
Ralph? Microphone, please.
I'd like to call for a roll call vote.
It is automatically a roll call vote, Ralph. Is there any other discussion? Chris, please.
Yeah, a couple of points. This ordinance is the annual tax levy for the entirety of Champaign County, all taxing districts under the authority of the county board, including the mental health board, including the general corporate levy, including, highway, including basically everything is under this levy ordinance. I respect the rights of board members to cast a protest vote and to make their disagreements with the mental health board clear, but I would contend that this is probably not the appropriate time to do that. to be honest, it is not even clear to me what a no vote on this ordinance means, but my guess is that it means a special board meeting within the next week to try to sort this out. If you have disagreements with the Mental Health Board, I would encourage you to communicate those to Mr. Tracy and to the members of the Mental Health Board, and to continue to ensure that the Mental Health Board is spending taxpayer money in a way that you would like to see it spent. However, the Mental Health Board does have considerable autonomy, and the tax levy that goes to the Mental Health Board was authorized by a referendum of Champaign County taxpayers who said that they want a percentage of their tax dollars to go to the Mental Health Board. So for the county board at this point to say, we don't like an item in the Mental Health Board's budget, therefore, I'm going to vote against the entire tax levy for all the districts under our authority within Champaign County for the next fiscal year, I think is a unfortunate way to express our disagreement. So I would encourage you to vote in favor of this. I have, to be honest, considerable sympathy with some of the positions that have been argued here. I do have my differences with the Mental Health Board in some cases in terms of how they're spending their money. However, as finance chair of Champaign County, I feel that we have an obligation to ensure that the budget is passed in accordance with statute, that the taxes are levied in accordance with the taxpayers' wishes, and that we move forward on this. So despite your differences with the Mental Health Board, I would encourage all board members to support this tax levy ordinance. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to address a couple of comments. One is, one of the issues I have with this, and something else that's going to come up with the nursing home, is the last minute, that's being brought up the last minute. And I don't think things will change for the county board or its budget if, continually people are waiting until the last minute to ask for these funds, unless we say something about it tonight. If we create the positions or allow them to create the positions, which I feel like I didn't understand completely from what was presented to us 3 months ago, that these positions would be created, then it's hard to get rid of those positions. Even when the economy dropped, we tried to protect positions, and obviously he's trying to protect some positions. So I have a concern with letting it start. But we're talking about quarter-cent sales tax money now, just the Access Initiative. No.
No.
Okay.
All the quarter cent goes to support the Youth Assessment Center at this point.
Right. And in the document, it talks about how some of the coordinator and accomplishment access initiative, a youth organization, a family organization, and leadership coordinator, the state system and care of an expansion. It talks about how some of this would impact some of those organizations, other organizations. And that's why I said when I talked about policy and making policy for these other organizations, when the money's being controlled by the Mental Health Board and these people are asking for grants, and how it's impacted and where you're moving that money from, because money just doesn't show up from nowhere.
I go to Stan and then Max. I want you to understand something. Yeah, go ahead, Peter, I'm sorry. What's that?
I said, could I respond if you
Yes,
don't
please, go
mind?
ahead, Peter.
Just to clarify a couple of things. The Access Initiative has had good reviews from the feds, from our contract monitor, Dr. Williams, from many local organizations that support the work of the project. Last night at the meeting, we had Joan Walls from the city of Champaign come and talk about the Community Coalition, which, by the way, is the system of care. It isn't designed to. It's designed to integrate services for youth and make sure that we are spending money effectively and organizing programs effectively. We also had Todd Schroll, who is the managed care person for the Children's Mental Health Choices Project. He came and talked about how they are actually using pieces of the Access Initiative as the foundation for the things that they're building with what they're doing. And by the way, the managed care is what is actually going to be coming into this area. We have the Choices Project is one of those companies. The Access Initiative works with the most difficult to engage population and has from the start. They have successfully met most of the objectives of the cooperative agreement. The project evaluation team at the University of Illinois, 20% of this grant, you mentioned Dr. Aber, given us reports that show that the project is trending, all of the aspects of the project are trending in the correct direction. I have really gotten no complaints from anybody other than members of the Champaign County Board concerning this project, and this goes back to the start of the project. People didn't like this project from day one, and frankly, I don't understand it. And a couple of thoughts that I have, which I find interesting, is that this is the only project that we fund that targets minority youth. That's the target population of this group. And for whatever reason, this has been a lightning rod for this board, for some members of this board. I'm not going to say all members, but it has been. I also find it interesting that our sustainability plan includes transitioning 2 minority staff from temporary to permanent status, and this seems to be the primary reason that some members of the Champaign County Board are recommending that our budget not be passed, or that the levy not be taken. I would have thought that you would have supported bringing minority staff into county government. And we have people that have done a good job. And as I said, I have gotten no complaints about this project from anybody other than some members of this board.
I just want to say one thing before Stan. Remember this term, unintended consequences. What this vote will be, could be, excuse me, Jim, I've got the floor, Jim, and I'll give it to you in a moment, Jim. I'll give you the floor in a minute. I'm just saying unintended consequences that will take place if this fails. Stan?
Peter, was this the SAMHSA grant?
Yes.
Okay. And
Federal grant.
And that's been ongoing, and as time goes on, I mean, we get so much on our plate that we tend to, the details get away from us. But from what I recall of that grant, because I was on the Board of Health, and I remember you coming to a lot of meetings, and I'm going to say it up front, some of the reports we got were very vague, inconclusive, and maybe no one else has been complaining because nobody else really understands it. But my understanding of the SAMHSA grant, and let me finish, was that as it went on and it started to run out, if we didn't fund it, we didn't fund it. That was it. You know, there's so many issues on the plate now, and we've talked so much about the jail issue and the mental health issue, and I'll have to agree with most of the comments here, that priorities have to be set. And I hear some of them that, you know, the children and this, but you got to make choices. We can't fund everything in life, and it's hard for some people to see that. But what I'm hearing about this levy, it isn't, and this report comes to us, as Jim said, basically you have been working on it, but this is the first we've seen of it. And we have no choice, and it's put in the budget, and the only way we have to counteract this, even though what Chris says holds a lot of water, is this is the only way we can hold it up. I mean, either we do or we don't, and if we do, you move on. It's your budget, it's your levy, you can do as you somewhat please, because then it takes an act of Congress to change it. And some of the comments you made about hiring minority workers, take a good look at this county. The staff does an excellent job when I see them reports of doing that. And when people wave that flag, that's just incite people to get on board with your program. And I think that's a sad thing to do.
You can think whatever you want.
And I will.
I'm saying let's look at the number of people that have administrative positions in the county at this point. And anyway, the other point I'm going to make, well, I've made my point. I'm planning to send you all a detailed letter that describes how this project has functioned during the 6 years. I've got information from the University of Illinois evaluation piece. I will have that for you within about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, I'll have a project, just because I think it's important for you to know about the project. I stand by what I said. I think it's just interesting that this project has been a lightning rod since it started.
My esteemed colleague, Mr. Alex and his eloquent tones has changed my mind. So, although I still do have significant problems with the Mental Health Board's allocation of resources, I think for the benefit of this county, it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and support the levy overall, even though I don't like a part of it. So I intend to change my mind. It's probably the first time I've ever done that, but I will vote for it.
Well, first, let me say I find your comments offensive. I'm new to this board. I'm new to this board, and since I've been on this board, I've been supporting a lot of programs throughout the county for these groups that you're discussing. And LaShonda and Tracy Parsons, I know both of them, they're friends of mine, and I wouldn't hold them up, and I don't like the idea that I have to hold them up from a position of a job. But the way I look at it is, it's thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars that could be spent on the programs that serve the people they're supposed to serve, not the hierarchy of the mental health board. So, don't assign things to people when you don't understand what they think.
Diane?
I guess my situation, and my opinion comes on this, is that it was a lot of money, $6 million. I mean, I've gone to the website several times trying to look to see where the updates are, where the board minutes are and things like that, to get a better understanding of what it is and what's going on, or if there's something that's been changing. Doesn't seem to be there. I feel that, for the lack of anything else, that with not a lot of information, not a lot of items coming from there, how many kids are being helped and those type of things, based on the amount of money that we've had for the last 3 years, wasn't it? I think it was 3 years for the 6 million, maybe more. And so therefore, I do feel like you don't want to keep funding something that is a new project, if you will, because there are several good projects out there that other agencies are working on, and like the CASA or CASA and the other things, I can't see sustaining this, and I, for some reason in the back of my brain, also feel like it doesn't quite fit the mission statement, and therefore, that's where I have a problem supporting this and how the funds are being used, not that you don't want to support youth and minority youth or whatever that is, but I just have tried very hard to get more information by looking at the website and doing those type of things, and it's not there. And so you can't understand something when it's not being transparent.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Maxwell, I certainly appreciate your flexibility and your comments. Again, I would ask that the board, regardless of how you feel about a specific item that represents a relatively small amount of the Mental Health Board's funding, which in turn represents a relatively small amount of the overall tax levy, I would encourage you not to use this. It's great to use this as a forum to make sure that Mr. Tracy understands your position, and I think he's probably does at this point. But I would encourage board members to support the overall tax levy and support the overall budget, even if there are line items in it that are administered by other boards that you may not disagree with.
Jim? Yeah, Michael Hudson.
Okay, well, I'll try to be brief anyway. Just want to echo Mr. Alex. Voting down the tax levy is kind of a blunt instrument here. If people have issues with some of the things going on in the Mental Health Board, and it sounds like a number of people do, I would encourage the new board and the new board chair to work with board members to make sure they understand their position, and also to work on the appointments to make sure any appointments the next 2 years. The board, the way that we can really influence the board is to make sure that any new members or reappointments understand what the board wants to see, what this board wants to see from the Mental Health Board.
I think that's a good position to take, Michael. We have, all right, John hasn't spoken yet. Let John move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for clarification, I want to make this point. To those who are watching or listening or some other way transcribing this session, This board is basically the only elected board that has any kind of quasi-oversight over our tax levying bodies, such as mental health boards. So if there's some critique or something that you don't hear from anywhere else, or it's because this board has that kind of oversight and responsibility with these taxes. So I just want to make that clear to people in the public that they understand that. Thank you.
Jim, and then Patsy?
Should make this by my last comment. And I think if the Access Initiative was sustainable, it wouldn't be asking to move more money into it and to continue it after 6 years. Not that the programs that are involved, that have been throughout the community, haven't been important or shouldn't and couldn't still go on without these positions being created. And the last point is, you're absolutely right. By voting no for the levy, you're bringing down a lot of other things. But, you know, I've been involved with government for a long time, and this is the way some people work. They wait till the last minute, and they know they've got you in a position. And he hasn't been apologetic for his statements that he's made. He hasn't made any changes or suggestion that he wants to change his program, even though we have great concern for it. So I continue to vote no, and if we have to wait and to pass the levy until it is changed, then that's the way it should be.
Patsy?
Yes, a couple of things. First of all, since you have documents that you'll provide for us in a couple of weeks, was it possible to have provided those documents to have helped us with our judgment this evening in a more timely manner?
I don't know for sure at this point. I mean, that wasn't, this isn't specifically on the budget. It's included as part of the major categories, which the board has it's the purview of the mental health board to make decisions how to spend the money within that. So we don't break out separate programs when we do our budget proposal. So the intent was, I did not, frankly, going into the budget process, I didn't think that I had to give a big explanation about this particular project.
Well, then.
But I also want to mention, related to the jail issue, I want to remind the board that when Dr. Kalmanoff came here and pointed out some issues with mental health in the jail, we immediately responded. We reconfigured and redirected money within a month after Kalmanoff came and talked to us. We then added all of the new revenue that we had going into the next funding cycle to support that, and we have continued to work on that. I have done research on the drop-off centers. I've looked at programs in Salt Lake City and the Texas program that most of you have looked at. We're committed to working on this project and trying to get something done. We funded the community elements when they did an architectural study of the Time Center, as, you know, to be a drop-off center. So that, you know, I think one of my board members last night said it, this isn't one or the other. You know, the Access Initiative is a key, and the system of care is a key component of our children and youth mental health project. But we are committed to the adult project and working with the jail population. I don't think people that are mentally ill belong in jail. We had a gentleman came last night to our board meeting. So, you know, it is not characterizing our position correctly if you think that we're not, you know, I mean, I think my track record shows that we have been very responsive and done everything we can to move quickly on that, and we will continue to do that. I had a meeting with you, Patsy, and I can't remember who else was there. I guess
Astrid and Gary.
Astrid and Gary. We sat over coffee, went over all of the programs that we fund, not counting, leaving out the children's mental health. And I said, you know, the bottom line is that we have about 1.5, 1.6 million that could be reprogrammed. But the biggest problem I have is I've never seen a proposal for what this drop-off center would look like. I don't know what it would cost. I mean, it's just vague and nebulous. You know, I do think that I want to work with the sheriff. I've had a number of phone calls with the sheriff talking about, and Mr. Jones. So, you know, to characterize us as not being interested in this and not being committed to working with you, I mean, that just is not true.
All right,
May
we've really.
I,
What's
may
that,
I
Patsy?
finish?
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Maybe one of the important takeaways is that since this board has little final say on how these dollars get spent, I mean, I went before the board yesterday, and I made it to the meetings when the board was deciding on the different proposals, both mental health and developmental disabilities. So I have done that, and I have listened to this, but it doesn't mean that everybody on this board can do it. So maybe some descriptors would be very helpful for all of us as we go through this budgetary decision-making. That might be a takeaway lesson for all of us. The one main question I do want to ask you, what is the N of children that have been assisted over this basically 5.5 years now of this program?
Well, I think I don't have the actual number in front of me. That's what I'm going to give you that from the University of Illinois. I saw the 6-month review of kids that have gone through it, and the end of that was about 80 kids, I believe. But that was ones that finished and are 6 months out. You know, it's, you know, so I believe that there's been in the neighborhood of 150 kids served, but I can't give you the exact number. But you have to remember that this project is not just about that service component. It's also about creating the family organization, the youth organization, cultural competence, having a cultural competence piece, as well as creating a system of care. And we have accomplished most of those things. The community coalition that we worked with the city of Champaign on initially to start off, and now we have a number of other partners in that. That is the system of care for kids. That's the macro system for kids in this community. All the players are at the table.
All right, we're going to go with one more, and that's Ralph, and then we're going to vote on this thing. Ralph, put on your microphone, please. I don't know, let's find out.
I'd just like to express my exasperation with this whole procedure. This is a very small portion of the budget. It's a very small item. It was brought up in good faith by one gentleman over there who has withdrawn his support of his own motion because he was threatened with a complete collapse of the budgetary system if we don't do this. And I don't think that's a good way to be running our business.
Thank you. All right. We need a roll call vote on this.
Maxwell,
Yes.
McGuire, Michaels. No. Mitchell.
Yes.
Petrie,
Yes.
Quisenberry,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Rosales,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Schwartz, Alex, Bergson, Cowart, Esri,
Yes.
Harper,
No.
James,
No.
Jay,
No.
Langenheim,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on. Chris, number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move adoption of ordinance number 951, authorizing the fiscal year 2015 annual budget and appropriation.
I need a second. Second by Astrid. Any discussion on this issue, on this item? All in favor? I'm sorry, I need a roll call on this as well. Roll
Maxwell.
call, please.
Yes.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie,
Yes.
Quisenberry. Richards,
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Schwartz, Alex, Bergson, Cowart, Esri,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
James, Jay, Langenheim, Kurtz.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance moves adoption of ordinance number 952, establishing a new Urbana Enterprise Zone. And I guess this is actually ordinance authorizing, indicating Champaign County's desire to participate in the Urbana Enterprise Zone.
I need a second. Second by Stan. Any discussion? None? I need, well, no, this is, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance moves adoption of resolution number 9074,
We
excuse me,
have-
9039.
There's a change on that. It's ordinance 954 now.
I'm sorry, Deb
Chris.
told me that. Yeah, this is actually ordinance number
954.
954, which is not resolution number 9039, ordinance 954. Thanks for catching that, Deb. Authorizing property tax abatement for residential, commercial, and industrial property improvements in the Urbana Enterprise Zone.
Thank you. I need a second, please. Second by Stan. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And finally, adoption of resolution number 9074, approving an enterprise zone intergovernmental agreement between the County of Champaign and the City of Urbana.
Well, we already moved. Ralph will second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now I'd like to take up the 2 items that were removed from the consent agenda. Those being adoption of ordinance number 953, establishing an enterprise zone in the City of Champaign and the City of Champaign County, and adoption of resolution number 9049 to authorize property tax abatement for certain property improvements in the Champaign Enterprise Zone. And I would move those now.
Okay, thank you. I need a second. Astrid?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I could, I would like to make a motion to defer these until the December full board meeting, and I can speak to that if I get a second.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My understanding is that the city attorney at the City of Champaign identified a defect in their process here. There is a public hearing that they've been planning on holding, but they have determined they need to hold that hearing prior to accepting our participation. That hearing will be held on December 2nd at the City of Champaign. So they've asked us to defer consideration of this until after that public hearing.
All right, we have a second for deferral. Is there any discussion on the deferral? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now we'll go back to the regular agenda.
Number 9.
I would move adoption of resolution number 9040, authorizing budget transfer 14-11 within the Champaign County Nursing Home, as discussed at the Committee of the Whole, in the amount of $537,000.
Second. Ralph, before you go, Ralph, could you hang a second? We need 15 votes on this. Do we have enough? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. What's that? Yeah, well, I'm going to discuss. I just want to make sure that if we need to pass it, we have enough board members. All right, discussion. Jim?
Well, I got to go too, Ralph.
Go ahead. We all got to go, but go ahead, Ralph. Jim?
Okay, as I discussed earlier about bringing issues to us at the last minute, and we're talking about, I wish I would have brought this up last time, but hundreds of thousands of dollars for wages, and I don't know, I understand the contract nursing, which really to me is a big problem because we're going back to a situation where they're putting a lot of money in the contract nursing at the nursing home, and are we going to go back to where they're asking the county board to supplement their budget again because they're having issues with labor at the nursing home? And the other thing is I don't understand a lot of these charges. Professional services, I'm assuming it has to do with the company we hired to do dining service, their dietary, and then on the next resolution, which asks for, a few $100,000 more, it talks about, don't want to, I guess, speak to it yet, but, $300,000 for labor costs there. And I don't understand if these professional services are for that company that managed dietary, and those charges pay for that, but also, if that's true, what are the labor charges that should just be supervisors and managers that are on the other one? So where is this hundreds of thousands of dollars coming from, and why is it being moved only at the end of the year when they knew this was coming? And can someone answer the question? Obviously, we don't have anybody here from the nursing home, that could speak to this issue. Maybe Deb can respond to some of it, but.
James.
James?
So I wish, Mr. McGuire, you would have dug into this more at the committee of the whole, because that's where this kind of discussion should happen. You're in your right to ask this question here. But when you have an operation of this size, and you have a budget for labor, and you cannot fill that labor with permanent employees, you hire people from the outside to do the work that needs to be done. Whether that's contract nursing, where your nurses aren't showing up, they're calling off sick, what happens? You have to go out and buy nursing. Because of the structure of the budget, though, your hired staff money is in one pool, and your professional services money is in another pool. So even though you're no more staffed, in fact, you're frequently less staffed than you budgeted to do, you're spending more money in your professional services than you expected to spend, and you're spending a lot less money in your labor pool than you're expecting to spend. None of these shifts involves spending more money than was originally expected to be spent. It's being spent out of different lines. Now, you might say that's kind of ridiculous, it's labor either way, but that's the way accounting and budgeting has evolved, that you keep things lined up so that it helps you from getting out of whack, and it helps people from keeping people from doing things that they shouldn't do. Now, food service, for example, we, at one point, budgeted to have our own management for food service, to hire a assistant director of food service and a sub-assistant director of food service. And then we shifted gears over the course of the year and said, we're going to bring on outside help to do that. Well, what we budgeted for those managers to do that food service work was in that line. Professional services in a different line. So now, at the end of the year, when we've seen what we spent out with our real staff and what we had to hire people in to do, because we needed that work done in either case. Now, one of the things I commented on the other night was some people asked, well, why isn't it more? Because it's professional services. Well, yeah, professional services frequently, you have to pay more. You're paying overhead for that company you're hiring from, or you're hiring someone who's offering their services for hire, and they have to take their own benefits and things like that. Yeah, it does cost more. But when you do this, you frequently don't buy enough labor to cover all you plan to cover. You cover exactly what you need, what you can't do without. So you end up actually buying less hours for a higher price, and it can, in fact, come in cheaper than you originally planned to, but that's because you're not staffed where you need to be. And that's when things fall behind, you have issues, you have unsatisfactory service, because you planned to have everything covered, but you couldn't cover it all because you couldn't hire enough people, you had transitioned, you changed your plan mid-year. This is not some out of whack nursing home, out of control kind of thing. This is budget housekeeping. You plan to spend the money this way. At the end of the year, it didn't turn out that way. If it was a problem, it would involve adding money to the system, not just moving it around depending on which columns it is. So that's what this looks like. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of people don't dig into budgets as deeply, so they need that kind of explanation. They need to understand it a little bit better. But that's where we're at. That's where we talked about it at the committee of the whole, and now we're talking about it again, and I'm not exactly sure why.
Sure. I understand the agency issue completely, and I understand the budget issue. Maybe sometimes I don't quite get some of them, but this one I do understand. And I know we're moving money from one place to the other. My concern partially is, like I said, that the agency nursing number continues to climb, which is going to be eventually a problem in this budget. And budgets are something you think you want to try to accomplish. They're not set in stone. And the issue has been from the beginning for months that they've got a 70% turnover rate in their labor. And now this is coming to roost in these numbers. But I don't still understand where these professional service charges are coming from, because I don't think the supervisor responsibilities and management responsibilities should have cost $400,000, because you can hire someone to be a supervisor and dietary for $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 a manager. This isn't the U of I where they pay dining service people, managers, hundreds of thousands of dollars if there's 3 positions. Because $290,000 is almost $100,000 apiece.
I'll try to speak a little bit towards the food service items, and maybe Deb can help me with this. When we changed management over there, we went to a kind of everything's inclusive, all-inclusive. And our contract's fairly, is it 900,000 a year, something like that? 700,000 a year, but that includes a lot of things, including the food. And so what may be happening here is those transfers in food service may actually be part of just the monthly contract that we're having to pay, which includes many of the functions that we used to buy food separately. We used to have certain supervisory help on the payroll over there. And these are all rolled into a monthly contract, and it may well be what part of all this is about on the transfer of food service. Perhaps maybe Deb can help me with that.
Well, we are paying a company for a number of dietary services management positions that were originally budgeted to be in personnel. So that's why we're transferring. It's not just one $30,000 position. It's a dietitian, it's dietary service manager, it's assistant dietary service manager, and those positions are all now being provided by HCSG. So that's a substantial part of the reason for moving money from personnel into professional services for dietary services. And there have been other vacancies throughout the facility in management positions this year, which is what requires this. We had an interim director of nursing. They have had an outside agency providing assistance to the new director of nursing. There were other management positions that were vacant, which they filled with professional services, as Mr. Quisenberry said. And so there is excess money in the personnel lines that was not spent, because it was spent in professional services lines, because we had to bring those people in because we could not fill the positions that we had. And I would add that that is being addressed by the nursing home board. The fact that that's not an acceptable thing, and it's being worked on to do a better job of filling those management positions.
Patsy, then Chris.
There is another interesting layer that was discussed at the last nursing home board meetings, and it has to do with the mechanism of coding the budgetary items. And it appeared from the conversation that aspect of the Cronus system wasn't being robustly used, shall we say. And so some of this, if they put that in place, some of these transfers may be minimized over time as soon as that gets in place, and that might help us look at these things down the line.
I was just going to speak to the comment about this being last minute. I mean, it's last minute in the sense that it's the end of the fiscal year, and now unfortunately is the time when all the department heads come forth and clean up the budget lines that they probably weren't paying monthly attention to before. So I think this is less a reflection of a change in a request by the nursing home to get us to approve their operation than it is an acknowledgement that their operation has behaved differently in the past year than their budget anticipated, and we're trying to adjust the budget to reflect the reality of what actually happened.
Any other discussion on this issue? All right, we need 15 votes to pass. Roll call, please.
Maxwell?
Yes.
McGuire? Michaels? Mitchell? Petrie?
Yes.
Quisenberry? Richards? Rosales?
Yes.
Schrader? Schwartz? Alex? Bergson? Coert? Esri?
Yes.
Harper? James? Jay? Langenheim? Kurtz?
Thank you. Finance moves adoption of resolution number 9041, authorizing budget transfer 14-12. Also with regard to the nursing home, total amount of $330,000.
Thank you. I need a second. Second by Aaron. Discussion on this issue? Stan?
I'm going to ask James, because he did an excellent job explaining the last one. Is this the same type of deal here? Quiz. You know, if I had hair, you'd think it was Stan James. But you did an excellent job. It's the same type of deal, just cleaning up the budget.
That's my understanding.
Thank you, sir.
Actually, if the budget transfer form allowed more line items, you would have only had one transfer.
Maxwell,
Yes.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry. Richards. Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader. Schwartz. Alex. Bergson. Coert. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. James. Jay. Langenheim. Kurtz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Move adoption of resolution number 9042, authorizing budget amendment 14-45. Pass through of $40,000 from the City of Champaign to the Regional Planning Commission for case management services for Bristol Place.
This is revenue neutral. Second by Aaron. Any discussion? All right, this is also a roll call and 15 votes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie.
No.
Quisenberry. Richards. Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader. Schwartz. Alex. Bergson. Coert. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. James. Jay. Langenheim. Kurtz.
Okay, we'll go to the first addendum, finance item 12. I move adoption of resolution number 9075, authorizing budget amendment 14-48. This is increased appropriations of $36,575 from the court's construction fund to pay final expenses of the courthouse masonry repair project that began in fiscal year 2013 and is to be completed in fiscal year 2014. And I can speak to this to some extent.
Second by Stan. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In response to a question that Ms. Petrie asked in caucus, this is in fact within the original $215,000 cost estimate for this project.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I need also a roll call on 15.
Maxwell.
Yes.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry. Richards. Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader. Schwartz. Alex.
Yes.
Bergson. Coert. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. James. Jay. Langenheim. Kurtz.
Yes, motion carries. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll move to addendum 2. We have 2 budget amendments here from the State's Attorney's Office. I'll move adoption of resolution number 9076, authorizing budget amendment 14-43. Increased appropriations of $6,000 from the fund balance to accommodate the purchase of office furnishing replacements and additional technology.
I need a second. Second by Astrid. Chris?
Deb, any ideas?
This is not the general corporate fund. This is the state's attorney's drug asset forfeiture fund. And I believe she bought some furnishings and technology that she deemed appropriate under the utilization of those funds there's an adequate fund balance there, and she's asking to increase the appropriation.
Any other discussion? Jim? Why, did you sell this furniture to them?
I guess I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, any other discussion?
It was primarily technology.
It's technology, Jim. All right, I need 15, roll call, please.
Maxwell.
Yes.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry. Richards. Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader. Schwartz. Alex. Bergson. Coert. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. James. Jay. Langenheim. Kurtz.
Yes, motion carries. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And finally, for finance, I move adoption of resolution number 9077, authorizing budget amendment 14-49, increased appropriations of $5,000 for the state's attorney to accommodate translating and transcribing services in 5 linked felony cases. And I would ask Deb to explain this one as well.
This was an extremely unusual case. There were 5 defendants, and none of them spoke English, and so the interpreter spent literally over 300 hours preparing and providing the services that were needed for translation, and the state's attorney, her budget is exhausted in terms of witness fees and other court-related expense line items, so she needed to ask for an amendment to be able to pay this final bill.
Any other discussion on this issue? Again, 15, roll call, please.
Maxwell.
Yes.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry. Richards. Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader. Schwartz. Alex. Bergson. Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. James. Jay. Langenheim. Kurtz.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Chris. I think that's all for finance. We have a couple of resolutions under policy. James?
Yes, first of all, under policy, I move adoption of resolution number 9043, a resolution honoring county employees, and I would like to read it if I have a second.
Please go ahead, James. I need a
Mr.
second.
Esri? Thank you. Whereas it is the vision of Champaign County Board to be a recognized leader in local government where every official and employee has a personal devotion to excellence in public service and embraces the highest standards of ethics and integrity, which enables Champaign County to provide the best customer services to its citizens. And whereas one element of pursuing this vision is communicating to employees that their service to Champaign County is valued and appreciated. And whereas Champaign County employees admirably serve the people of Champaign County with full commitment to the responsibilities of county offices, work in partnership with fellow employees and county officials, and have dedication to the best interests of all the people of Champaign County. And whereas the Champaign County Board wishes to recognize the dedication and service of employees who have reached 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40-year milestone in fiscal year 2014. A large number of employees are going to be recognized in December on which date, Deb? At,
The 11th at 2:30 at the Urbana Civic Center.
all right, they will all get their due at that time. Now therefore, be it resolved that the County Board of Champaign County hereby recognizes each of the aforementioned Champaign County employees as an asset to the citizens of Champaign County and expresses gratitude and sincere appreciation for their years of service. And I encourage all county board members to come out to that event and recognize these personnel.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. James?
Next, we have a resolution number 9044, a resolution honoring retiring county employees.
Go right ahead. Second? Second
James.
stand.
Whereas it is the vision of Champaign County Board to be a recognized leader in local government where every official and employee has a personal devotion to excellence in public service and embraces the highest standards of ethics and integrity, which enables Champaign County to provide the best customer service to its citizens. And whereas one element of pursuing this vision is communicating to employees that their service to Champaign County is valued and appreciated. And whereas Champaign County employees admirably serve the people of Champaign County with full commitment to the responsibilities of county offices, work in partnership with fellow employees and county officials, and have dedication to the best interests of all the people of Champaign County. And whereas the Champaign County Board wishes to recognize the dedication and service of the employees who are retiring in fiscal year 2014, we have from Corrections, Terrence Alexander, Merle Kopman, Nadra Laufenhagen, Brenda Richards. Did I mess up the name? Okay. From the nursing home, we have Creaser Pearson, Elsie Stombaugh. Stombaugh, thank you. And for probation and court services, we have Christine Jones and Mary Lemming. From the Regional Planning Commission, we have Priscilla Lindstrom, Alfred Anderson, and Shirley Wagner. From the Sheriff's Office, Chris Bolt, Joseph Ferry, and Eric Shoemate. And finally, from the State's Attorney's Office, Margaret Carney and Larry Adelsberger. Now therefore be it resolved that the County of Champaign, County Board of Champaign County hereby recognizes each of the aforementioned retiring Champaign County employees as an asset to the citizens of Champaign County and expresses gratitude and sincere appreciation for their years of service.
Thank you, James. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move to other business. Who's going to read that? Me? Oh, Astrid, go right ahead.
We're going to do that next time.
Resolution number 9045, resolution honoring retiring county board member Alan Kurtz. Whereas Alan Kurtz was sworn in as a Champaign County board member on September 18th, 2008, and whereas Alan Kurtz had served the citizens of Champaign County as a representative of the Champaign County Board District 7 from September 18th, 2008 until November 30th, 2014, and whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County board member, Alan Kurtz served on the following standing committees: ELEC from 2008 to 2014, Highway from 2008 to 2010, Public Aid Appeals Committee from 2012 to 2014, Labor Committee from 2012 to 2014, Litigation Committee in 2014, and Committee of the Whole from 2010 to 2014. And whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County board member, Alan Kurtz also served in a liaison position as the County Board's representative on the Champaign Consortium, Extension Services Board, Lincoln Heritage RC&D, Muhammad Aquifer Consortium, Regional Office of Education, and Regional Planning Commission. And whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County board member, Alan Kurtz also served in a leadership role as the vice chair of the ELEC from 2008 to 2010, deputy chair of Environment and Land Use from 2010 to 2012, chair of the Public Aid Appeals Committee from 2012 to 2014, chair of the Litigation Committee in 2014, and chair of the Champaign County Board from 2012 to 2014. And whereas the County Board seeks to publicly recognize the commitment and dedication of Alan Kurtz, who served the citizens of Champaign County as an elected official over a term of 6 years. Now therefore be it resolved that the Champaign County Board hereby recognizes the service of Alan Kurtz and the benefit that service brought to the county government, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Alan Kurtz in recognition of his years of service to the citizens of Champaign County. Present.
No standing ovation? Okay. All right. No, oh, okay. No, it's all right, it's all right. It's all right. Okay. Thanks, Max. I guess, is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I better not be any. Okay. All right, let's move to adoption. Oh, who's next on this? Chris, go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move resolution number 9046, resolution honoring retiring county board member Michael Rocket Richards. Whereas Michael Richards was sworn in as a Champaign County board member on February 22nd, 2007, and whereas Michael Richards has served the citizens of Champaign County as a representative of Champaign County Board District 8 from February 22nd, 2007 until November 30, 2014, and whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County board member, Michael Richards served on the following standing committees: County Facilities from 2007 to 2010, Finance from 2007 to 2010, Justice and Social Services from 2010 to 2012, Highway and Transportation from 2012 to 2014, and Committee of the Whole from 2010 to 2014. And whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County board member, Michael Richards also served in a liaison position as the county board's representative on the Developmental Disabilities Board, the East Central Illinois Economic Development Corporation, and the Community Justice Task Force from 2012 to 2013. And whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County board member, Michael Richards also served in a leadership role as the vice chair of the County Facilities Committee from 2008 to 2010, deputy chair of the Justice and Social Services Committee from 2010 to 2012, and chair of the Community Justice Task Force from 2012 to 2013. And whereas the Champaign County Board seeks to publicly recognize the commitment and dedication of Michael Richards, who served the citizens of Champaign County as an elected official over a term of 7 years, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Champaign County Board hereby recognizes the service of Michael Richards and the benefit that service brought to county government, And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Michael Richards in recognition of his years of service to the citizens of Champaign County. Presented, adopted, approved, and recorded this 20th day of November, 2014.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Patsy?
Of course, congratulations to Michael. However, the second whereas is not accurate.
Oh, okay. Patsy, you want to correct us?
Well, until the redistricting, he represented District 6. After the
That's
redistricting,
absolutely, you are correct. That's true. We'll have to rip up that one and go for a new one. Okay? Yes, so meanwhile, with that correction,
Is that an amendment, is that a
is that a motion to
amend?
I would hate to have his certificate inaccurate in perpetuity, so I do amend.
all right, I need a second.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Main motion? Aye. Next up, Diane, thank you.
I move to adopt Resolution Number 9047, a resolution honoring retiring County Board member Stan James. Whereas Stan James was sworn in as a Champaign County Board member on December 6, 2004, and whereas Stan James has served the citizens of Champaign County as a representative of the Champaign County Board, District Number 2, from December 6, 2004 until November 30th, 2014. And whereas during his tenure as Champaign County Board member, Stan James served on the following standing committees: County Facilities from 2004 to 2010 and 2012 to 2014, Justice and Social Service 2004 to 2010, Veterans Assistance Commissions Committee from 2011 to 2012, and Committee of the Whole from 2010 to 2014. Whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County Board member, Stan James also served in a liaison position as the county board's representative on the Champaign County Board of Health, Community Services Block Grant Board, Rural Transit Authority Group, and Region 8 HSTP. And whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County Board member, Stan James also served in a leadership role as the Vice Chair of the Justice and Social Services Committee from 2006 to 2008, and Chair of the County Facilities Committee from 2012 to 2014. And whereas the Champaign County Board seeks to publicly recognize the commitment and dedication of Stan James, who served the citizens of Champaign County as an elected official over a term of 10 years, now therefore it be resolved that the Champaign County Board hereby recognizes the service of Stan James and the benefit that service brought to county government. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Stan James in recognition of his years of service to the citizens of Champaign County. Presented, adopted, approved, and recorded this 20th day of November, 2014.
Any corrections, Patsy? No, okay. No, what's that? I need a second on that. Max, with no corrections by Patsy. Aaron? What, roll call? Do I have a second on a roll call? Second. A second, okay. Roll call, please. That's great. What? All right. Roll call. No, you're just kidding. He withdraws the roll call. Is the second withdrawal? So, okay. Withdraw. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next, who handles?
I will miss Stan and all of our disagreements. So pleasantly done.
All of you disagree.
I just want to say that thanks to everybody, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good ride. A lot of my friends never believed I'd ever get this far in my life, but now I'll have time to get a haircut, and I'm resenting getting off because they switched good wife to Sunday night instead of Thursday. So
That's right.
that's
There
my
you go.
life.
James.
All right, I'd like to recognize my fellow Urbana Rotarian with resolution number 9048, a resolution honoring retiring county board member Ralph Langenheim. Whereas Ralph Langenheim was sworn in as a Champaign County Board member on December 7th, 1998, and whereas Ralph Langenheim has served the citizens of Champaign County as a representative of the Champaign County Board District 9 from December 7th, 1998 until November 30th, 2014, and whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County Board member, Ralph Langenheim served on the following standing committees: Highway and Transportation from 1998 to 2010, Environment and Land Use from 1998 to 2010 and from 2012 to 2014, Veterans Assistant Commission Committee in 2012 and Committee of the Whole from 2010 to 2014. And whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County Board member, Ralph Langenheim also served in a liaison position as the county board's representative on the Extension Services Board, Muhammad Aquifer Consortium, CUATS, the Lincoln Exhibits Committee, and the Veterans Assistance Commission. And whereas during his tenure as a Champaign County Board member, Ralph Langenheim also served in a leadership role as the chair of the Environment and Land Use Committee from 2000 to 2006 and from 2012 to 2014, chair of the Veterans Assistance Commission Committee in 2012, which resulted in the creation of the Champaign County Veterans Assistance Commission. And whereas the Champaign County Board seeks to publicly recognize the commitment and dedication of Ralph Langenheim, who served the citizens of Champaign County as an elected official over a term of 16 years, now therefore be it resolved that the Champaign County Board hereby recognizes the service of Ralph Langenheim and the benefits that service brought to county government. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Ralph Langenheim in recognition of his years of service to the citizens of Champaign County.
I'd like to second that. I'm going to second that one. Ralph?
Well, first of all.
Well, microphone like always.
Again, all right. I'd like to thank you and all the other board members with whom I've served, my constituents, and the citizens of Champaign County for allowing me the privilege to lead what I consider to be a significant life after normal retirement age.
Ralph, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Before we go in, I want to say, yeah. I want to say it's been a pleasure being your chair and being on the board for 6 years. I never expected to be an elected official. When I was pointed at to be appointed in 2008, I sort of didn't understand where I was going or what I was going to be doing here, but the satisfaction that we must all have in being able to serve the community with a hands-on opportunity that most of our residents and constituents don't get a chance to do is quite extraordinary. And I want to thank each and every one of you for the service that you put in here and for the work that you've done. This is a board that absolutely works together. This is a board that talks to each other. This is a board that compromises when necessary. We don't always agree on things, but I can tell you one thing. I can walk over to any one of you, shake your hand, and say, I appreciate the work that you put in. So I want to thank all of you, and we'll move on from here into a new board, and I wish them the best of luck. I certainly hope we can work in that board can work in a bipartisan way, because each of us represent a certain segment of this community, and we, as a board, we represent the entire community of Champaign County. So I wish you all the best of luck. And as we move into closed session, I want to just let you all know that we will be going into closed session, and we will adjourn when we come out. There will be no further business by this county board on tonight's agenda. So would you please read,
Mr.
James?
Chair, I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1 to consider the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of Champaign County. I further move that the following individuals remain present: County Administrator, Deputy County Administrator, and Recording Secretary.
All right, I would like a second on that, and then a roll call, please.
Maxwell?
Yes.
McGuire?
Yes.
Michaels? Mitchell? Petrie?
Yes.
Quisenberry? Richards? Rosales?
Yes.
Schrader? Schwartz? Alex. Bergson.
Yes.
Coert. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. James. Jay. Langenheim.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes. Let's move into the Putnam room, please.